Fatima Alasrar, Senior Scholar, Middle East Institute. Good to have you, Fatima.
Shaba.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So, Yemenis have been waiting for the truce to be extended, but this didn't happen, unfortunately. The international community expressed disappointment and blamed the Houthis for it. What do you think made the Houthis reject to renew the truce?
I think it's quite obvious. The Houthis have really nothing to give. They've taken everything that the government and the Saudi-led coalition can offer. They've taken and pocketed all of the concessions, and I don't think that they feel that they have anything to give at this time being, nor are they interested in getting to a long-term solution for Yemen's conflict. As it is, the Houthis have control of government establishments and institutions in the north. They have control over critical cities from Sana'a to Hodeidah, and they have a complete siege and blockade over the city of Taiz. They feel like they have the upper hand in some way, and they feel like stalling at the time being is in their best interest. And this is one fact of this equation. And there are definitely several other factors that play into this, but mainly, really, Houthis have never had an interest at all in engaging in a long-term process because their military aims are still not completely fulfilled. The other factor that might be playing a role is pretty much their relationship with Iran. And as we know, Iran have had a significant influence in Yemen. It had attempted to scuttle negotiations before. It had instructed Houthis, indirectly to not engage in peace discussions when it was in their best interest to do so. So I think Iran's objectives as well are not fulfilled in the country, and it's waiting for the perfect moment to leverage the Houthis as a card in whatever it is experiencing at the moment, and that's a critical component that I fear that not a lot of policymakers and analysts are paying attention to.
We know that the Special Envoy Hans Grunberg urged the warring parties to revive the truce efforts, and he also warned that a small incident could spark something that could have devastating consequences. In your readings, to what extent warring parties are ready to push Yemen into another chapter of violence?
Not all warring parties are ready to push Yemen into a chapter of violence. The PLC is committed to the truce. We've seen meetings between the Yemeni government and the UN envoy and the US ambassador, where they are renewing their commitment to the truce, where they want to, because it's in the best interest for the Yemeni government to represent the interests of Yemeni people. As it is, you have only a militia that is taking complete control over Yemen, and it is really just ruling with an iron fist. It was extremely concerning to see the celebrations for Mawlid, not because we Yemenis oppose the celebrations for Mawlid, but because there's a feeling that these people were plunged into these demonstrations en masse without really a choice, because with the militia, you're either with them or against them, and they don't see any other way. So it is extremely important to understand that the Houthis are really ready to ignite this. They're ready to ignite this to achieve their military gains in Yemen, which is expansion into Ma'rib. If Ma'rib falls by, immediately they're going to take a look at Shabwa. They're going to try to expand into Aden and ultimately reach Bab al-Mandeb. And securing this would give them vital resources. The other issue is as I have mentioned, this is a very critical time in the region, and everyone is watching how things are playing out in Iran and during the Iran protests as people are rising up. Iran is going to leverage the Houthis, I assume, in a way that would allow it to deepen its power in Iran. And this means that chaos might might erupt in Yemen for the sole benefit of the Houthis backers, Iran. Houthis have been extremely loyal to their backer. They have been extremely vocal about their linkages with Iran, and they both fulfill the same type of mission. And the first signs of escalation where when the Houthis military spokesperson had mentioned that they wanted to attack, had warned employees of oil facilities in both Abu Dhabi and in Saudi to leave in a very clear message that they are ready to attack the critical facilities, critical oil installations at a time where the global economy is concerned with the prices of oil. So any type of instability right now could really play out in favor of Iran, and that's something that we have to keep an eye on.
Fatima, as you mentioned, Houthis are backed by Iran. And in your writings, you wrote that Houthis are unlikely to compromise now. In your opinion, what can the international community really do in order to pressure Houthis and make them respect their commitments?
It's time to really realize that the Houthis are not playing a game, that the negotiations and the efforts to bring them to peace are not going to be as easy as everyone thinks. They do hold significant power in the north, and it's really not in their best interest to share this power. Why would they? Why would they share a power right now and share resources when they can have it all to their own? So I don't think that the Houthis feel that they have any incentive really to do so. And I think it's time for the international community to realize this and come up with serious solutions. It is in the best interest of the government to attempt to find a power sharing agreement with the Houthis. There's no doubt about that. So the government must keep on pushing for the solution, but also the government must not forget its priorities in Aden, in Ma'rib, in all other areas where it needs to strengthen its presence and secure it. So I think that the international community must make sure that Yemen is able to secure itself from further Houthi and Iranian influence in Yemen, and that's the minimum that they could do. And the second is really looking at having the Houthis comply with their commitment before we go to any other step. It is futile to say we're going to offer more concessions to the Houthis when they haven't really offered anything back. And that's going to be a very, very difficult thing to do, of course. The third, and I think this is really important, is that the international community and the UN envoy in particular must avoid pressuring Yemen's government to offer more concessions, because this is not only, it really damages the political process and the credibility of the Yemeni government on the long term. So the more that we ask them to abide by additional commitments that the UN envoy's office decides to dictate, the more that we're actually going to get further away from a truce and from a peace settlement in Yemen. So I think it's really, really important to reevaluate where we are in terms of the truce, and to pay attention to helping the Yemeni people as opposed to helping the process. We're not concerned about the truce. We're not concerned about the process, but we want ultimately to lessen from the impact of
Fatima, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it here.
I've ended anyway.
And surely the international community should take more actions. And thank you so much for your time.